you were supposed to have posted to your posted to the blog online about John Venn. And I don't want to bring those up to us right now, but some of the things I've been reading, you had similar threads, I should say, similar things that you had in common. Can someone care to share one of the things that they might have had in common, or something they didn't have in common with John Venn? Anyone want to care to share? Lucia?
Something that happened in October 3.
Uh-huh.
For him, his mother died, and then moved to another country.
Okay. So you can relate to him because you had a major event happened in your life at a young age. Okay? That's really good. What else did you write about? Or did you read about? Maybe it wasn't you, but you read this happened on the blog when you went online. Uh-huh.
He had strict parents.
He had strict parents. I saw a lot of that, actually. A lot of you guys think your parents are real strict. Okay? My dad was a 2-star admiral in the Navy. I got very, very disciplined when I was growing up. So I can relate. That's one of the things I can relate to, too. My parents came home and expected me to do, you know what I mean? So I could relate to that myself. Anybody else have something else they want to share? Anything they didn't relate to? He was a pretty religious guy, wasn't he? Right? And there's lots of, back in those days, historically, back in the time that John Venn was alive. Anybody can tell me real quick what years, about what century he was around? Should be in the thing. The 19th century? 17th century, okay. Which was 1918 something, right? Okay. So in the 17th century, education was not mandatory, right? Most people were uneducated. There are two groups of people that were educated. Do you have any idea of what those two groups were? Wealthy people could afford school, and what's the other group? Religious people, okay? The priests, the religious leaders, they were also educated. So that is one of the reasons why and that's for all cultures, not just Christianity, it's for all religions and all areas really of the world, that most of the people that were educated either had money or the specific religious denomination did it for, or paid for them to go to school. Yes?
I thought it was in 19th century.
Yeah, okay.
1800.
Yeah, 1800 is the 19th century. Yes, thank you very much. You're right. I appreciate that correction. So John Venn was of the, not necessarily the wealthy status, but his parents wanted him to go and join the church. And did he actually end up doing that? Did he become a church? I think he was a priest, wasn't he, at one point? And then he also became an author. How many books did John Venn write? 3, 4? Okay, it should tell you how many books he wrote. There was one particular book. By the way, we're going over this because on a future test or quiz, some of the extra credit questions might come from this biography, okay? So it's important. I'm just kind of trying to point out some important things. What was the name of the book in which Venn diagrams were introduced? That's one of the books. That's something I would highlight in my biography if I were you. Emily? Symbolic logic. So that's the actual name of the text, and if I were you, I'd underline that or highlight that. That's the name of the text that he wrote in which he first introduced Venn diagrams. At the bottom, you'll see a little picture, and it's of a stained glass in a church from his hometown that is a Venn diagram, which is kind of interesting. So that was kind of his tribute. You'll see that at the bottom there, the little picture. It kind of didn't print out real good because it's supposed to be in color and it printed out kind of dark, so I apologize for that. But anything else of historical importance that you can maybe think of based on this guy here? What is he called? Does he have a nickname at all? Father of logic is what it's supposed to be, but I don't see that. Did that say that anywhere? No. Okay, so where was he born?
Yorkshire.
Where's Yorkshire? England. Okay, so he was born in England. Yorkshire is like the state, kind of like, think about it that way, right? Just trying to think of anything else that, how old was he? Not quite 40? 39? You guys double check my math. It says he died in 1873. Oh no, that's not true.
1923.
Where do you see that?
2023.
Oh, 1923. Thank you. I was reading, must be his dad died in 1873. Sorry about that. So 1834 to 1923. That's a pretty long time. For back in those days, don't you think, I mean, he was what, God, 80 something, right? Okay, that's pretty long for that time frame, for back in the 19th century, 20th century in 1923. What might have played into, obviously good genes, but is there anything else you can think of that might have played into why he might have particularly lived so long? Can you think of anything historically that might have happened, or do you think he had money? Do you think he was probably one of the wealthier people around at that time? Okay. Do you think that because he was a part of the church that he probably took care of himself health-wise? So you can't really compare him compared to maybe some of the people from that time frame. But anyway, so those are some important facts I want you to kind of think about. Again, would be extra credit on a future test or quiz, but definitely know the name of the book that he wrote, know where he was born, know what his major contributions were. Okay? All right, so let's take one of his major contributions, which was Venn diagrams, and let's go ahead and look at what those mean. So what I'd like for you to do is you have two things I want you to have out, okay? We haven't added the index cards to our flip chart yet, but we will next week. You'll need only three index cards. So and I know it has 5 lines, but you only need 3 index cards, so bring those next time. But if you look across the top of the single sheet I gave you, you should see these 3 pictures, okay? And it says no common elements. And basically a Venn diagram is just to show relationships between different sets, okay, or different groups of things. So if things do not have anything in common, we would put them as separate circles. For example, males and females, okay? If we want to talk about them having some common elements, what can we, something that has common elements? Let me think about it. I'm just trying to think. How about, can you be both of something? Can you think of something? Help me out. What'd you say? Books that you like? Books that you've read, maybe? Okay, so let's say that's a good one. So let's say, like, if you've read, name me the name of a book that you've read. The Fault in Our Stars. Okay, so we'll say The Fault in Our Stars. And what's the new book that's come out that's Gone Girl? I know that's not supposed to be the one y'all are supposed to be seeing, but whatever, okay? So those are 2 books that are pretty popular nowadays. And you could say, I've only read Fault in Our Stars. I've never read Fault Girl, so I know I'd be over here. There would be some people that maybe have read both, right? So if you've done both, you'd be in that overlap. There's some elements that are in common, okay? Good. All right, here's another one, and this is one that we're going to be looking at today. But it's where all of something is included in something else. So, for example, if you are a student at Stonewall Jackson High School, then you are a Raider, okay? So that simply means that everybody that goes to this school is a Raider. So that means everybody in Stonewall Jackson High School is a Raider. So everybody in SJHS would be in the inside. And we'll investigate that a little bit later. But some key words, none or no. You can write the word none. Some and all. So if I were you, I would circle those words because those are the key words that are going to help us decide how our circles are going to overlap. So on this particular flip chart that you have, you'll see where at the very top where it says Venn diagrams. Go ahead and draw the circles and how they relate to each other right across the top, right in here. In other words, add these pictures, these 3 different pictures, and they're not in the same order, so pay attention to the order, okay? Add them across the top of your flip chart for me. And let's look at an example that you guys have here. where we actually have, and that should say basketball, sorry, that should be 2 L's there, my typo, not yours. And what I'd like us to do is this is a situation where we're looking at some things are in common to 2 things, some things are in common to all 3, and some things are just by themselves. So we want to look at this particular Venn diagram, and I want us to kind of answer these questions off to the side. Here is a situation where I give you the Venn diagram, and I want you to answer the questions. Sometimes I give you questions, and I want you to fill in the Venn diagram. So we'll go back and forth between the two. But let's start here for now. So let me pause the recording for a minute. I want you to kind of think about these questions in terms of where the numbers come from. Okay? So all three sports, what number would that correspond to in the Venn diagram? The 5. So if we're talking about all 3 sports, that means that it's where all 3 circles happen to overlap. So I agree. That is going to be the number 5. Okay? So how many athletes play football and soccer? So where would that be? Be very careful. Football and soccer. That's not correct. So be careful. Football and soccer is these combined together. It's 11. If it said football and soccer only, I would agree that 6 would be the answer. Okay? But if it's just saying football and soccer, they could play other sports too. But these are the people that play football and soccer. So that would be 5 plus 6. That's where 11 comes from. Okay? So you're looking for key words like only, things like that. Okay? So I'm going to pause the recording for a minute. I want you guys to go ahead and answer some of these questions. I'm going to realign my board. Wrong thing. So the homework is out of your textbook, pages 93 to 95, and then you're going to do 6 through 18 even, 25, 26, 32 through 34 all, and 40 through 45 all as well.